This is a problem that as this lawsuit moves forward, this is something that every lawmaker needs to take note of, to see the problems that these types of ordinances and laws create for people of faith and their ability to live those their beliefs out faithfully in all aspects of life. It's my privilege now today to introduce to you the speakers, Headmaster Luke Masick and student Bernadette from the Lyceum, and Christiana Holcomb from the Alliance Defending Freedom. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Luke Masick. I'm the headmaster of the Lyceum. Today our attorneys filed a lawsuit on behalf of the Lyceum asking the court to stop the city of South Euclid from enforcing its ordinance and forcing us to violate our Catholic faith. Ever since it was first brought up, we have been forthright and clear about the threat the city's ordinance presents to the Lyceum. Religious schools like the Lyceum have the freedom to operate consistently with our beliefs, but the city's ordinance jeopardizes this freedom and threatens to crush us. While we have been vocal about the need for our city to respect our freedom, the city has taken advantage of our honesty. Originally, the ordinance we are challenging at least included some protection for religious organizations like the Lyceum. However, the city of South Euclid intentionally removed that religious exemption from its ordinance, apparently so it could target faith-based groups like us. The city's hostility toward us for our religious views has left us with no choice but to file this lawsuit. The government must respect deeply held religious beliefs about marriage and human sexuality that have been shared for centuries by Christians, Muslims, Jews, and others. The motto of the Lyceum is Fiat Lux, let there be light. Our graduates score exceptionally high on the SAT. They attend some of the finest colleges and universities throughout the country and major in a variety of disciplines, from engineering and pre-medicine to politics and theology. Lyceum graduates pursue religious vocations and serve in the armed forces. They are caring, responsible parents and neighbors. The education we provide to students prepares them to live excellently and with integrity. Parents, not the government, have the right to decide what religious beliefs to teach their children, including beliefs about marriage and human sexuality. The city should not block parents from passing down their faith to the next generation by shutting down faith-based schools. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bernadette. I am a sophomore at the Lyceum and have been a student here since my freshman year. When I first came to the Lyceum, I never would have expected to see my school have to file a lawsuit just to make sure my classmates and I can still attend our faith-based school. My time at the Lyceum has taught me so much, but one of the most important things I have learned is that my faith impacts and forms every aspect of my life. That truth isn't just taught here at the Lyceum, it's built into every moment of our school day. Whether it's starting every day in worship through song, beginning each class with prayer, or growing with my classmates in our ability to read and understand ancient Greek and Latin, it is an absolute joy to take part in an education where we value the good, the true, and the beautiful. It didn't take long before I came to think of my classmates and teachers as an extension of my own family. Together we share unforgettable moments as we walk beside each other in love and gratitude for what God is doing each and every day. Just the idea that we could be unwelcome in our own city has come as a shock to me. At the Lyceum, we all agree to live by community standards that are rooted in Catholic teaching. I don't expect everyone to agree with us, but everyone should agree to respect each other's faith and freedom. We can live peacefully with each other without forcing anyone to surrender their freedom to live consistent with their faith. Tolerance is a two-way street. Along with my classmates and teachers, I am hopeful the court will allow our school to keep its doors open and continue to educate us with excellence.
Good afternoon. My name is Christiana Holcomb, and I am legal counsel with Alliance Defending Freedom. Religious schools like the Lyceum must be free to operate consistently with their religious convictions, without fear of unjust government punishment. That is their right under the First Amendment. But unfortunately, the City of South Euclid's ordinance jeopardizes this freedom and threatens to crush the Lyceum simply because of the school's well-known Catholic faith. Because of the intolerance shown by South Euclid lawmakers, the Lyceum must choose between risking fines and even jail time or shutting down entirely. The city is telling a distinctly religious school that it cannot be religious and peacefully live out its faith, even though it has operated peacefully in this community for years. Government coercion has no place in a pluralistic society. Tolerance and mutual respect for good faith differences are essential in a pluralistic society like ours. They enable us to peacefully coexist with one another. As the United States Supreme Court has repeatedly said, the government must respect the deeply held religious beliefs that the Lyceum holds about marriage and sexual ethics, beliefs that have been shared across cultures, across millennia, and by millions of people of faith, Christians, Jews, Muslims, and many others. It is wrong for the City of South Euclid to banish religious schools like the Lyceum from the marketplace of ideas simply because of their Catholic faith and beliefs that it doesn't like. Tolerance is a two-way street. If we want freedom for ourselves, we must extend it to others, and especially to those with whom we disagree. That is why the Lyceum is asking a federal court to stop South Euclid from enforcing its unconstitutional law against the Lyceum. This case is about freedom. Religious schools like the Lyceum must be free to operate consistently with their faith. Thank you. And with that, do you have any questions for me?
The Lyceum 6th or 7th grade to 12th grade, because the lawsuit says 6th, that says 7th.
Currently 6th through 12th. Other questions?
The city ordinance, I'm reading high school here, but it says that, religious or denominational institutions referring to employ an individual or of a particular religion perform work connected with the performance of religious activities by the institution permitted. How does this ordinance apply in the face of that?
The law was horrifically drafted and is extremely vague. The Lyceum actually sent a letter to the law director of the city asking them specifically, does the law apply to our school? Do you intend to apply the law to our school? And the city essentially said, find yourself a lawyer. We won't tell you. So the Lyceum, in the face of fines of up to $500 per day and 60 days of jail time, has no other option but to assume the city does plan to apply the law to the school. Other questions?
What about the law that Cuyahoga County passed, I believe, in September of last year? How does that affect the Lyceum as opposed to the one in South Euclid?
So unfortunately, I'm not able to comment on other applicable laws at this time, but what we do know is that this city municipal law infringes on the religious freedom of schools like the Lyceum just to peacefully operate consistently with their faith. Other questions?
In the lawsuit, there was quite a bit of attention paid to this policy that the Lyceum wanted to put into effect. How does the ordinance prevent or chill that policy?
Absolutely. So part of the law actually includes a publication ban, a speech ban. It prohibits them from communicating anything that might make an individual feel unwelcome or objectionable, though those terms, while vague, are also not defined adequately in the law. So the Lyceum simply wants to be clear and forthright with everyone, with its community, with individuals around it about where it stands and what its Catholic faith requires. And that's the reason that it wants to pass this policy, which would violate the law.
This is not a unique law in that, Quality, Ohio has lobbying laws here and in other cities in Ohio, and it's not unique to necessarily other ones in other parts of the country. What has case law said about any of these laws when they have been challenged in similar fashions in the federal court?
I'm not necessarily aware of other instances in which they have been directly challenged in this manner. Again, but what we have here is a religious community. This is a faith-based, tiny community of faith that just wants the freedom to continually peacefully existing and operating in the city of South Euclid. It's not asking to impose its religious convictions on anyone. It just wants the freedom to operate consistently by them itself.
If the, and I hate asking hypotheticals, so if the city communicative pertaining to those two public record questions, two simple questions, would we be here today, you think?
It entirely depends on what those responses would have been. Again, the city had the opportunity during the drafting phase to make it very clear that the law did not apply to small religious communities like the Lyceum, but it refused to do that, and it actually deleted a religious exemption that it existed in initial drafts of the ordinance. So again, the Lyceum is left with no other option but to assume that the city intends to apply the law to this small, devoutly Catholic school and to force it to violate its convictions or risk fines and jail.
And I apologize, my colleague might have asked this already, but there is an exemption in there for educational institutions already.
There are, so what's fascinating about the law, again, as poorly drafted as it was, there are definitions that occur in the definition section that are not actually utilized later. But no, the Lyceum, again, we've directly asked the law director and they refuse to say. So the school has no other option but to assume that the city intends to apply it to the Lyceum.
What about the idea that this may be preemptive? I think that is referenced in the lawsuit, but there have been no actions actually taken against the Lyceum.
Absolutely.
It's really about something that hasn't happened yet. I mean, is it premature to actually sue if nothing has happened as a result of this law?
Not at all. So one of the hallmarks of a civil rights society is the freedom to challenge unjust laws before the government attempts to fine you or throw you in jail or otherwise impose criminal penalties. The Lyceum should not have to wait around wondering on a daily basis if it could be shut down and have these criminal penalties imposed. So it's a hallmark of a civil rights society to be able to challenge unconstitutional laws before they are applied.
Are there any commonalities between this case and the Colorado Baker case?
Commonalities in that it does appear that some degree of religious intolerance or even religious hostility towards the belief that marriage is the union of a man and a woman, which are the deeply held religious convictions that are held by millions of people across cultures and millions of people of faith here in this community as well. So, I mean, I would see that as an analogy, but again, very different from the context of this is a small religious school. It's a private religious school, and they just want the freedom to keep operating as a small, private Catholic school. Excellent. Well, sir. Sure.
It is kind of a philosophical one, but can you love thy neighbor and still not permit someone inside the school?
Absolutely. Tolerance is a two-way street. The Lyceum has peacefully lived here for years, and they just want the freedom to continue doing so that they can share their Catholic faith and love their community as they have done for years. Thank you all so much for coming. We appreciate your time. Have a great one. Student?